All right. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. Do you guys see a slideshow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys see the bar that's on the right side of my screen or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to get rid of that then. There we go. Okay. So I just want to take today just to kind of introduce you to some of the policies that we're going to be adhering to for the next couple weeks. And then just kind of get us started with that poem that you read for last week's work. Okay, so really quickly, policies. Here's the policies for ELA 10. Most of these are going to be exactly the same in all of your classes. Really, the only area where this changes for me is in this grading section. So I'll make sure I go over that. But the first thing, and this is true for all classes, if your work is late, it is not accepted. Okay, so you have to be on time. To help with that, I made every due date is going to be at the end of each week. So you'll get your work every Sunday. It'll be due every Friday. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you're getting things done the week that they need to be done. I got a couple assignments from last week late. Those don't count as far as a grade, but I'm glad that they are done. Okay. All assignments are going to be graded on a 10-point scale. So that's just to make things easy. So every assignment's worth 10 points. You're going to be graded on a rubric most of the time. On that rubric, it's going to be 0 through 4. A 0 is a 50, a 1 is a 60, a 2 is a 75, a 3 is a 90, a 4 is 100. So that'll just kind of correlate between the score on your rubric and the score that you end up seeing on PowerSchool. A score of 3 is your goal. 4 is you're doing exceptionally well on a particular assignment. The 3 is our goal. All assignments need to be submitted through Classroom. I don't think anyone here.
Yeah.
Golly.
Who is that? Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Cool. Okay. So all assignments submitted through Classroom.
Bro, what is y'all watching?
There we go. All right. So again, all assignments submitted through Classroom. Every assignment has a document already attached to it for you to complete and submit. Most of us, I think all of us here, got that done, no problem. Did anyone have a hard time submitting to Classroom?
Nope.
Cool.
Nah.
Okay. So I did have a couple issues. Hopefully those people attend a meeting at some point. So the exception to this is going to be any sort of discussion board activity that's going to be either in a discussion board format on Classroom or it'll be on a different site. I'll let you guys know when that happens. But for now, every assignment is going to be through Classroom attached to a document. If you're having a hard time with Classroom at any point, my big advice is to try a different device. Most of the issues that I've seen so far are people using their phones. I know that the phone app isn't necessarily the easiest to use sometimes, especially when it comes to turning things in. So if that's the case, try to use a computer if you can. Ask someone for help, look up your issue online, and then ask me. But I don't mind helping you. So when we do our discussions or any sort of discussion activity in class, we'll go into more depth on this eventually, but we're going to be using the 4 C's: confirm, connect, change, clarify, just a way to make things easier for us. Okay, so all assignments and materials for the week will be posted every Sunday. You guys should have seen that yesterday. Number 2, read all assignment materials before class on Monday, ideally. It's not going to be a deal breaker if you don't. But being exposed to the work before you come to class is always a good idea. All assignments are going to be due on Friday. So every Friday you guys have your assignments due. So this week and every week you'll have 2 assignments due on Friday. What's up, Dylan? If you are struggling throughout the week to complete the work, please let me know. Email, text. You guys have the phone number from the packet. So feel free to text or call or whatever you need to do. Okay, and this is I think it's the last one. Yeah, this is the last policy slide. So if you submit your work early, your work will be graded early. I'll try to have turnaround be as quick as possible. I did the grading this week in like 2 different sittings. After assignments are due on Friday and you get a grade, you may have Saturday and Sunday to revise it if you'd like to earn a higher grade. Revisions, though, will be due Sunday night. If you're happy with your score, don't worry about that. And
I got a question.
Yes.
So, will this quarantine affect our volunteer hours?
Yeah, that's a good question. That sounds like a Mr. Lawrence question. So I would contact him.
Okay.
If I find out though, I'll post something.
All right.
It's a good question. Okay, so finalize assignment scores. I'll put them into Power School the next week. Keep in mind, these grades cannot hurt your quarter 3 grade. So your quarter 3 grade is now your semester 2 grade, right?
Bro, who is that, bro?
Dylan, I think.
Bro.
Can't you mute them?
I'm working on that.
You're hilarious.
Trying to find who it is.
Hey, Kutchie.
Hello.
Who's that?
We should be good.
Adrian.
Hey,
All right, so again, your quarter 3 grades are your semester 2 grades, okay? So none of this work can hurt you. It can all only help, all right? So make sure that we're getting it done. All right, any questions about policies?
Nope.
Are these classes supposed to be we got to stay in for the whole thing?
So as far as how long the classes are, they're an hour. I don't think I will ever go a full hour.
Thank you.
I recommend you stay just so I can really see everyone who's here because I have to take attendance for you guys as well.
Okay,
But
here.
I see you. All right, so we're like halfway done now. So we only got a little bit left. Today's pretty easy. Any other questions?
Nope.
Santina, did you ever figure out classroom?
Oh yeah, I just didn't do it yet.
Okay, but you did. But you did figure it out though.
Yeah, I had just logged on.
Okay,
class.
good.
I saw it.
Good. All right. Okay, so how do you guys feel about this whole distance learning thing so far?
I don't like it.
I hate it
It's lame.
All right, why?
I don't like
because it's interfering. It's interfering with my Netflix. Like, come on now.
Wait, who was Squidward?
Calm down.
My grades
Who was
ain't
that
going.
Squidward?
So is there anything about this process that you like or you think is good?
Yeah, my grades ain't going down. I'm straight.
Well, that's
I want
good.
my grades ain't that.
But my grades ain't going down.
That's good.
Cheating is way easier.
Nah.
That is probably true.
I miss school, and I don't even go to school.
So when I hit that 4.0,
I was gonna
y'all
say
won't hear.
you're hardly there.
Barely, but I miss school.
Oh, good. So how do you guys like the way that I've been organizing things?
You make it easy because I'm
Okay.
I don't know. This is my first class.
Oh, yeah, you good.
everybody else much.
Okay.
Giving that much
Yeah,
work.
no, I'm
Wait,
trying
I
to
had
make it
class
as
last week.
huh?
Especially
It was class last week.
Well, no. This is the first actual class. Last week I just had the assignment up.
Oh, because I wasn't there.
Okay, so just make sure that you check that out. But Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. I'm trying to give you guys everything all at once so that you don't have to log in every single day. So if there's ever a point where you feel like there's something I could be doing better, just let me know, okay? Because this is as new for me
Honestly,
as
I'd
it is
rather
for
do
you
the
guys.
packets.
The packets.
No, I ain't doing no packet.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
Hey.
that's dead.
Oh, Dylan, turn off your camera.
That's not even a camera. What you mean? That's my twin brother. What you mean? Hold on. Dang.
God.
That's funny, bro.
That wasn't even me. That was my twin brother. Me.
It's so capped out.
Stop the
I
cap.
swear to God.
Stop the cap right now.
Son, calm down, son. Son, I need you to calm down.
You guys are
I
crazy.
roll you like some cinnamon rolls.
Come on, I thought
Fat
Dylan
ass.
was your son. No,
God.
that's my son.
Stop the cap, Dylan. You was just asking me for 20. You was just asking me for the 40 ball.
Oh, don't cap on this phone
Don't
call.
be funny, man.
You just called me father yesterday. You just called me like, father, let me call 20 to get this place.
Why would I call it? Never
All right,
mind.
so I ain't come here to socialize with y'all. Come on,
All right, guys.
God.
If you can mute yourself, please. Just for this next part. All right, let's get through this quickly. Okay, so really quickly, I want to tell you what the learning targets are for this week. We got 3 of them. I posted this last night. But just in case you haven't seen it, here they are. You got the first one. I can identify a central idea or theme in the passionate shepherd. Number 2, I can identify the time and place Marlowe evokes in the poem by analyzing Marlowe's word choice, meaning, and tone. And number 3, I can examine how the time and place Marlowe evokes further develops the central idea. So this week, we're going to take that poem that you guys read last week, and we're just looking at central ideas and how Marlowe creates them. All right, so that's all we're doing. Stuff that we've done in the past with other texts. We're just doing it with this poem. Okay, so real quickly, I want to go over stuff for week 1, how it went. So the good thing, over half of you guys submitted your assignments, so that's good. That's more than I thought would. So good job there. A lot of these submissions were pretty well done. People asked me questions. If they were frustrated with the process, they'll let me know. That's good communication, whether positively about the experience or negatively, is good. So keep that up. And then 2 people in particular who did very, very, very well, Xavier and Cameron. So really good.
Who?
Some things that need to be improved.
Wait. Go back. Who did good?
Well, I mean, a lot of people did good, but people who did particularly well is Xavier and Cameron.
Of course. Hold on, but I put my all into that. I put my foot, heart, and soul into that.
Adrian, you didn't put anything in.
Yes, I did. I swear to God, I
you
did.
did?
Yes, I sent all my work to Miss Whitley.
No, I ain't doing that.
Yeah. Well, the packet work, right?
Who whistling?
Yes.
Well, right.
I
Yeah.
did the
No.
essay.
I'm talking about the assignment from last week that you didn't see.
Oh.
You're good.
Don't do that. Don't do that ever again.
All right. Some things that need improvement, though, is that some of the submissions were kind of low quality or lacked effort. I think part of that is just being at home. But just make sure that you're giving effort, because the points aren't free. If you're not doing well, then you're not helping your grade, and you're just kind of wasting your time at that point. So just make sure you're putting in the effort. The other thing is that there's quite a few formatting, grammatical, and mechanical errors. A lot of these look like people who probably did this on their phones. Try to fix that. It is still an English class, so there still is a standard as far as how the writing looks. So just make sure you guys are aware of that. But overall, as far as our first week goes, you guys did pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with how it went. So good job there. Is there anything about the assignments that you guys had questions on or needed clarification about? Anything like that?
No.
Oh, we can put each other on pause.
Huh?
I can put y'all on pause.
Yes, sir.
What do we think of the poem so far?
I ain't read that.
It's straight.
I
The
like
first time
it.
I read it, I understand what it was saying.
Okay.
It's a lot like
Yeah. So, like I told you guys, in the video I posted last week, it's a pastoral poem. So it's about nature. It's all about living like your ideal life in a natural environment. So we'll go over that briefly, really quick. So good job there. All right, so a couple quick notes on Marlowe and pastoral poems. If we were in class, I would say take notes on this, but I'm recording this and this will be online anyway. So here we are. Okay. Yep.
You know who this is? But this point, so this the story we gonna be reading?
The poem. Yeah, we're gonna be working on this poem for only this week, and then next week we're gonna move on to a new one that's related.
All right.
Okay, so a couple things about Marlowe and pastoral poems. So Marlowe was mainly a playwright, and Shakespeare borrowed from him heavily. So Marlowe and Shakespeare, if you ever read Marlowe play, which if you take an English class in college, there's a really good chance that you will. He and Shakespeare are very similar. Hey, Dylan.
Hey,
I'm muting you.
Hey.
Hey, look, it's quieter now. That went well. I wish I could do that in like normal class.
Dude.
That's awesome. Just mute. All right. So Marlowe again is a playwright. Shakespeare borrowed heavily from him. Marlowe is primarily interested in themes of love and the relationship between power and knowledge. He often had a cynical view of romantic love, yet he wrote The Passionate Shepherd, which on the surface celebrates romantic love. So that's something that we could potentially talk about. So pastoral poems, they create an idealized version of rustic life or life in the country. As you saw when you read this poem, there's a lot of descriptions of things in the world, natural things. That's very much in line with what pastoral poems are all about. So just keep that in mind, the type of genre that we're looking at. So really quickly, let's talk about a couple of these, and then I'll explain where we're going with this, and then we'll be done for today. Okay. So who could tell me what the poem is about? What is happening in the poem?
Not it.
And it's about a shepherd trying to convince his lover to stay in the country with him.
Okay, so we have our shepherd character. He's trying to convince someone that he loves to live in the country with him. Good. So that is what is literally happening. So when you look at that poem, and actually I would say open that poem up if you can, if you have it around you, or I can just.
Oh my gosh! Now I got to put my laptop out.
No, hold on. You don't have to. I got this.
Laptop.
What I can do.
Oh.
Boom. All right, so you guys can see it here, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. So if you look at this, what are these sentences that Marlowe uses? What are they like?
They short.
They're okay. They're short.
Every sentence is 4
They-
lines.
stanzas. They're stanzas.
They're in stanzas. Good.
Every sentence is 4 lines.
Every stanza, every sentence is 4 lines. Good. Well, what about the rhyme scheme?
Repetition.
Right,
Dang,
but
Kumar, you want to be in competition with me or what?
but how would you describe the rhyme scheme of the poem? Remember, like when you talk about
Oh, yeah, I
rhyme
don't know
schemes,
about
it's
that.
like A B, or A B C D, A B
I
C
don't
D.
remember that. I haven't read that.
All right. Well, if you look here, come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove. Now, keep in mind, back then they would have said it like this: "Come live with me and be my Louvre, and we will all the pleasures prove. That
Ooh.
valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain yields."
Okay.
So, what's the rhyme scheme there?
Shut up.
The
Hey,
Like, what rhymes with what?
Love.
Right.
Rhyme for proof.
Right. So Louvre, improve, fields yield. So it's the poem's written in AABB. All right. So it's an AABB rhyme scheme. They're in rhymed couplets, is what we call it. When we have two lines that rhyme one next to the other, we call that a couplet. It continues throughout. And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies. Now, that one, the O sound is what's going to rhyme there. A cap of flowers and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. A gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. A belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my Louvre. The shepherd swains shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my Louvre. So, rhymed couplets, every other line rhymes. What type of words does he use?
What you mean? What type of words?
So with his word choice, what sorts of things is he talking about?
Like how do I say this?
I have no idea.
So, for example, we know that this is a pastoral poem, so it's about nature. So, what I would say is we should look for words that are related to nature. So, if you look here, he talks about valleys, groves, hills, and fields, right? So, those are various places. What other words throughout the poem are similar to that?
Oh, like
Hideous birds sing madrigals.
Birds, good.
About the ember studs and
good
coral things.
Good. We got the
The
beds
kirtle,
of roses,
the
the kirtle, the flowers. Good. We got the gown. So, what if you had to separate what he's talking about into two different categories? What might those categories be?
Love and
nature.
So, nature is definitely one. So he's talking about like natural things. Talking about wool from lambs. He's talking about flowers. He's talking about the flocks that the shepherds feed. He's talking about the valleys, the groves, the hills. What other things is he talking about? And a good line for this would be here. So yes, he's talking about roses, but what are the roses creating?
Love.
Well, think of it more like a little more literally. So, and I will make thee beds of roses. What's being made here?
A bed of roses.
A bed. Okay. So we have something from nature being paired with something that you would just normally see in your life, right? And he does this multiple times. A cap of flowers. So think of it like a hat, right? A hat made of flowers. Something nice in like a person's normal life, but it's being made out of something from nature. He talks about a gown that's made of wool, slippers, but the buckles are made of gold. So in all of these stanzas, Marlowe's pairing things that are in the natural world with things that you could normally find in your life. Now, why do you think he does that? What does that emphasize?
What is what emphasize? Sorry.
So he's pairing things in nature like roses and wool, and he's saying that those things make things like beds and gowns and slippers. What point is Marlowe trying to make here?
Who's that right there under me?
He's trying to get his love to stay with him, right?
Okay, he's trying to get his love to stay with him. How is he doing that?
By giving her different pleasures.
Okay.
Like,
By providing her with these pleasures that you would normally get in life, right? Things like a nice bed, a gown, slippers, a hat, things like that. So trying to entice this person with the pleasures of life, but these pleasures are made of natural things. They're made of nature. So this poem, while it's about love, while it's about wanting to make sure that the person that you love is provided for, it's also a celebration of the natural world. So Marlo's playing with those two ideas here, right? So whenever you talk about this poem, you have to you can't forget to talk about the fact that he is trying to celebrate the natural world, but at the same time it is a poem about love. And just like you would do with someone that you love, well, maybe you might give them like presents and things like that. All right. So we kind of already talked about patterns. The pattern as in the rhyme scheme, the pattern as in he has this dichotomy of the natural world and the world of just pleasure. What are your thoughts about the poem? Did anyone have any thoughts or ideas that they would like to share with the group?
Thoughts or ideas? Wait,
Nope.
what?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh.
No.
All right. How do we like this poem so far?
first of all, it's stupid. I ain't gonna cap to you. But then I started understanding it more after I read it.
Okay, good. Really quick, what's a theme that you guys pulled from your typecast? Like, what sorts of themes did you guys state?
I forgot.
Does anyone remember? I just need one.
Nope.
Oh, I forgot.
All right, that's fine. All right, the point of that though is that whatever theme it is that you chose, I want you this week to go back because your quick write is going to ask you about theme or main idea. So I want you at some point to go back to that and really see if you're still happy with that, based on what we just talked about with this idea of pleasure and it being created out of things that you could find in nature. So just think about that when we move forward. Okay. Any questions about the text that need clarification before we move on to our last part?
Nope.
Okay. All right. If that changes, let me know. Okay. So here's our next steps. You guys have assignments 2 and 3. They're going to be due this Friday. Number 2 is poem analysis questions. Basically, number 2 is just expanding on what we just talked about. This idea of pleasure. What sorts of pleasures Marlo identifies, and what he says they are created out of. So it's just really trying to get you guys to see that dichotomy between the natural world and the world of pleasure. So that's that. That's going to be basically graded on your effort and your completion. So make sure it gets done, but make sure also that you understand it. Feel free to
Do we
work.
get graded for joining this?
Did you say?
Do we get graded for joining this?
Correct.
We get like participation points.
Yes.
Say swear. Oh yeah,
Yep.
I'm about to be in this motherfucker every day.
Shoot, I'm finna be in the next one.
It's funny.
All right. Assignment 3 is a quick write. Basically, it's just asking you what you think the main idea of the second half is. Feel free to use your typecast as a basis, but make sure you use assignment 2 to help you do them in the proper order. Assignment 2 first, then assignment 3. If you do 3 first, I'll probably be able to tell, because it probably won't be as detailed as I would have liked. With the quick write, make sure that you are writing at the length that you would normally write. Okay. Don't give me like a Sparks Notes 2-sentence version. Okay. Be detailed. I go into depth about that in the assignment sheet. Just make sure that you listen to it. I also have the instructional clip that I posted yesterday. Please watch that if you're confused. you have questions, let me know. And next week we'll be looking at a different poem after discussing your work on the quick write. So the quick write, next week we'll be pulling examples and just reading them on here and seeing how we do. So that's basically that.